All right, so we're diving into some concerns about the Suðuroyartunnilin
Yeah,
and how this big tunnel project might impact Hvalba specifically.
right.
Looks like we've got reports, geological surveys, and traffic analyses to sort through.
Yeah, seems like you've sent over quite a bit here.
And it seems like a lot of it is focused on the tunnel itself, but
Yeah.
you've pointed out something pretty crucial, and that is the impact on Hvalba.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need to focus on here. You know, this village of Hvalba,
Yeah.
it's often called the most beautiful in the Faroe Islands.
For good reason.
Yeah, and for good reason, exactly.
Absolutely.
It has this incredible natural beauty, real tranquility.
Yeah, and it seems like the project plans really underestimate how disruptive this new highway could be. An 80-kilometer speed limit, so close to homes, a school, vital natural areas.
Yeah, that's a big concern for sure.
Yeah.
We're talking about a major infrastructure project here, a tunnel over 22 kilometers long connecting Sandi and Suðuroy.
Wow.
And there's even talk of a branch to Skúvoy.
That's a huge undertaking.
It is.
So let's talk about the construction. What kind of impact are we looking at here?
Well, first off, the amount of material they'll be moving is massive.
Okay.
Roughly 290,000 cubic meters of rock debris.
Wow.
And they're planning to use the same disposal site as the Suðuroyartunnilin project.
Okay.
But the real concern here is the road itself.
Right.
The problem is this new road will also be an H1 road with an 80-kilometer speed limit.
And that's a problem because...
And that raises some serious red flags about the impact on Hvalba.
Okay, so we're not just talking about a minor road improvement.
No.
This is a full-blown highway cutting right through the area.
Precisely. And when you consider that the road will be passing close to both Norðuroyartunnilin and Hvalba lakes,
Right.
the potential for environmental damage is significant.
For sure.
These are sensitive ecosystems vital to the area's biodiversity. Not to mention the visual impact of a highway cutting through this landscape is bound to be jarring.
Yeah, it almost sounds like they're prioritizing speed and efficiency over preserving Hvalba's natural beauty.
It certainly raises that question. And this brings us to another major concern, the lack of alternative route discussions.
Right.
From what we can see in the reports, it seems like this new route was chosen without much consideration for other options.
You'd think with a project of this scale, they would explore different possibilities.
Right.
Especially given the potential impact on a village as cherished as Hvalba.
Absolutely. You'd expect to see a thorough analysis of alternative routes, perhaps ones that would skirt the village altogether, or at least minimize the impact on residential areas.
Okay, so we've got a major highway planned running right through a treasured village
Yeah.
with an 80-kilometer speed limit and no sign of alternative routes being seriously considered.
That's the picture we're getting from these reports.
Yeah, it's a little concerning.
And it raises some serious questions about how this project will affect not just the environment, but the very soul of Hvalba.
It's almost hard to believe they wouldn't have explored other options more thoroughly. It's almost like they're fixated on this tunnel in this particular road as the only solution.
It certainly seems that way. And this brings us to another point. You've raised the potential impact on Hvalba's unique character and tranquility.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have a tunnel connecting islands,
Right.
but to have an 80-kilometer road ripping right through a village known for its peace and quiet,
Yeah.
that seems incredibly disruptive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And that's not even considering the noise pollution from construction and increased traffic once the tunnel is operational.
Right.
Remember, we're talking about a potential increase of 1,200 to 1,500 vehicles per day.
Wow, that's a lot.
Imagine the impact that would have on the soundscape of this tranquil village.
Yeah, that's a lot of extra cars and trucks rumbling through what is now a peaceful haven.
Yeah, and the reports don't seem to address this in any meaningful way. They gloss over the potential noise pollution issue, focusing primarily on the technical aspects of the project.
So they're ignoring the human cost.
It's as if they're ignoring the very real human cost of this endeavor.
It almost feels like they're treating Hvalba as an obstacle to overcome, rather than a community to be respected and protected.
That's a powerful way to put it, and this lack of sensitivity is particularly troubling when you consider the impact on the village school and the children who attend it.
Yeah, we're not just talking about a road passing through open countryside. This is a major highway plan to run right through residential areas.
And the reports even mention the need for land acquisition,
Which means,
some families might be forced to relocate.
wow.
Imagine the disruption this would cause, especially for those with children in school.
The more we dig into this, the more questions we have about the impact on Hvalba's residents.
You're absolutely right. And the biggest question of all might be this.
What's that?
Why haven't they involved the Hvalba community in the planning process?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the community consultation? Where's the dialogue about how this project will affect their lives?
It's as if they're making these decisions in a vacuum without any consideration for the people who call Hvalba home.
Oh, we're certainly not going to let them get away with that.
No, we're not. We'll dig deeper into these reports and see if we can uncover any information about potential mitigation efforts or plans for community engagement.
And we'll definitely be emphasizing the importance of listening to the voices of Hvalba's residents.
Right.
They deserve to have a say in shaping the future of their village.
Absolutely. And you know what else is really concerning me about all of this? The fact that this proposed highway is so close to the school in Hvalba.
It's unbelievable, right? The reports actually mention the new road passing close to Toftaveg, Snebjarnarveg, Fjallstögini, Norbergsvegi, all residential streets.
Yeah.
And if you look at a map, you'll see the school is right there.
Yeah, it's almost as if they completely overlooked the safety implications here.
It's nuts.
We're talking an 80-kilometer speed limit, heavy traffic, and children trying to get to and from school.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
And it's not just the school itself, but what about the noise? I mean, can you imagine trying to teach or learn with a constant roar of traffic right outside your window?
The reports are surprisingly silent on the noise pollution issue.
Really?
They mention land acquisition, which means some families might be displaced, but they don't really seem to grasp the broader impact on the quality of life for everyone in Hvalba.
You've mentioned before that Hvalba is known for its tranquility, its natural beauty. Wouldn't all this traffic fundamentally change the character of the village?
That's the core issue here, isn't it? This isn't just about building a road. It's about potentially destroying what makes Hvalba special.
Yeah.
And the reports, they offer no solutions, no real attempts to mitigate this damage.
It's like they're saying, here's a tunnel and here's a road to go with it. Deal with it.
That's a bit harsh, but I get it. It just seems incredibly short-sighted to prioritize connectivity without addressing the potential consequences for the people who actually live there.
And you mentioned earlier that alternative routes were considered in the early stages. Why weren't those explored further?
That's a good question, and honestly, I can't answer it.
No.
The reports just state that alternative routes were unsuitable, but there's no real justification, no detailed analysis. It's frustratingly opaque.
It almost feels like they're deliberately avoiding transparency, trying to push this project through without talking to the people who'll be most affected.
Well, you've hit a crucial point, the lack of community engagement. The reports don't mention any consultations with Hvalba residents.
So they're just ignoring them.
No effort to get their input or address their concerns.
It's a community with a strong sense of identity,
Mm.
a deep connection to their land and their heritage. They deserve a voice.
Absolutely. They have a right to understand how this project will impact their lives, their environment, their livelihoods,
Okay.
and they have a right to participate in finding solutions that actually work for everyone. And this brings us to another important point, that you raised the impact on Hvalba's tourism industry.
Yeah, people come to Hvalba for its natural beauty, its tranquility, its charm. They're not coming to see a highway running through it.
Exactly. And the economic impact could be significant. The reports focus on the gains from improved connectivity, but they don't account for potential losses to tourism.
It sounds like a trade-off,
Mm.
but is it a fair one? Are they sacrificing Hvalba's long-term sustainability for short-term gains?
That's a question we need to ask. And it's about more than just economics.
Right.
It's about respecting the values and priorities of the community,
Mm-hmm.
preserving their way of life, ensuring any development benefits everyone, not just a select few.
You mentioned those delicate ecosystems around Hvalba, the lakes, the wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
What would this road do to those areas?
The reports do mention environmental impact, but they're not very specific.
Okay.
They acknowledge the construction will generate a lot of rock debris, and they plan to use the same disposal site as the Suðuroyartunnilin project.
Which begs the question, was there any significant environmental damage from that project? And if so, have they learned from it?
Those are excellent questions, and we need answers. The reports just state that they'll take environmental considerations into account, but they don't give any details about mitigation strategies.
That's not good enough. We're talking about a fragile ecosystem, a
Yeah.
beautiful place. They need to be transparent about how they're going to minimize the impact.
You're right, and it's not just about protecting the environment for its own sake. It's about safeguarding the health of the people in Hvalba.
Right. We've talked about the potential impact on the school, the noise pollution, the disruption to daily life. But what about the air quality? All that extra traffic will lead to more emissions in the village.
That's another valid concern, and again, the reports don't really address it.
It's like they're only focused on building the tunnel, not the human or environmental costs.
You've hit the nail on the head. It all comes back to the lack of a holistic approach. They need to consider the project from all angles.
Right.
Social, environmental, and economic impacts, not just the technical stuff.
It's clear we need to dig deeper. Demand more transparency.
Yeah.
Push for a more inclusive and sustainable approach to this project.
You're absolutely right. And it's important to remember that you, as someone who cares about Hvalba, you have a role to play here.
So what can we do? How can we make our voices heard?
That's a great question. And it leads us to another interesting aspect of this, the power of collective action.
So we've talked a lot about the downsides, but you mentioned this thing about collective action. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's like the reports we've been looking at, they only show one side. You know, it's all about the engineering and the economic benefits.
Yeah, but...
They don't talk about the people.
Right. The people of Hvalba, their concerns, their hopes for the future.
Exactly. And that's where collective action comes in the residents of Hvalba. They're not just, sitting on the sidelines. They can actually shape what happens.
But what can they actually do to make a difference?
Well, first, they need to speak up. They need to contact their local representatives, tell them what they think, and demand more transparency from the people in charge.
Okay, that's a good start. What else?
They can organize community meetings, town halls where they can all get together, discuss the issue, and come up with a strategy.
So strength in numbers.
Absolutely. And they can reach out to environmental organizations and advocacy groups, groups that have dealt with this kind of thing before.
So it's about using their collective power to influence the decision-making.
Exactly. And don't forget, knowledge is power, too. They can really dig into those reports themselves, look for inconsistencies or places where they need more information.
It's interesting how this deep dive has gone from, just looking at documents to empowering a community.
That's what's great about knowledge. It gives you the tools to understand things, to ask the right questions, and to fight for what you believe in.
So what's the most important message for the people of Hvalba right now?
Don't give up this project. It's still in the planning stages. There's time to change things.
Don't let this beautiful village just get bulldozed by progress without a fight.
Exactly. The future of Hvalba, it's in their hands.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least. We've uncovered some serious concerns about the Suðuroyartunnilin project and what it could mean for Hvalba.
Yeah, we've seen how important it is to look beyond the technical stuff, and really consider the human and environmental costs of something this big.
We've also learned that even when things seem really tough, there's always hope.
The people of Hvalba, they can make a difference. They can shape the future of their village.
So to our listener, we say this: stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay hopeful. The fight for Hvalba is far from over.